Rochdale factory, the biggest asbestos textile plant in Europe, was the heart of this huge empire. It was here that Samuel Turner began using asbestos 103 years ago. Turner's prides itself on its pioneering work in health and safety and its keen interest in the welfare of its workers. In 1920 they said, "The workshop shall be as a sanctuary to which men shall enter with joy in their hearts and laughter in their eyes." So we began by asking the workers how much they knew about asbestos disease. Turners are clear. All workers are fully informed about the hazards of asbestos. Are you worried at all about working in an asbestos factory?
No, I don't. It doesn't affect me. It doesn't.
Do you know what diseases you can get from asbestos?
I don't know, to be honest with you.
Do you know what diseases you can get from
I
asbestos?
do, yes.
Well, can you tell me what they are?
Asbestosis, for one.
Have you ever heard of mesothelioma?
I've heard of it, yes.
Do you know what it is?
Very chronic chest complaints,
Yeah.
isn't it?
It's cancer. Do you know?
Well.
Did you know that? Can you tell me what diseases you get from asbestos?
Oh, asbestosis.
Yes. Do you know what diseases you can get from asbestos?
No,
No. Have you ever heard of mesothelioma?
no.
Do you know what diseases you can get from?
We do know, but we
Yeah.
are looked after very well by the health there and everything.
Yes.
You know,
Can you tell me what diseases you can get?
what diseases can you get from this? Like
I thought you said you knew. Unable to reach agreement to film in the factory, after more than a year's discussions, we turned to the company magazine. On the front cover of issue 3, Bill Jagger, the very first Firefly personality of the month. He also made issue 4, in the obituaries, dead from lung cancer and asbestosis. More recently, Eva Howard was another loyal employee.
It was at the time when the asbestos industry was under attack from all sides, and she wrote to the local paper and said, "I've worked in the industry for 30 odd years, and it's done, you know, it's done me proud, and there's nothing wrong with me." And a couple of years later she died of mesothelioma. So just how safe is it?
For 50 years, Turner's has been Britain's showpiece asbestos factory. Since the 1920s, every investigation into asbestos disease has depended upon the evidence from here. The latest report, the government's asbestos inquiry, began in 1977. Once again, evidence from Turner's model factory was central. Turner's are proud of the cleanliness and good housekeeping in this factory. As this film taken a few years ago shows, thousands of pounds have been spent on dust extraction equipment to keep dust levels below the legal limit. The monitoring of the asbestos dust and the regular medical checkups seem impressive. In 1978, Turners were very confident of conditions inside the factory. It is extremely unlikely, they said, that anyone commencing work at TBA will have his health affected at all. However, scientists from Oxford University predict that after a lifetime's work here, the number of these workers who will die of mesothelioma, lung cancer or chest disease may be as high as 1 out of every 10. At Rochdale in 1978, Turners also said, deaths from lung cancer do not differ significantly from the national average. That was untrue. The lung cancer rate at the time was almost twice that national average and rising. And if Turners breached the current legal limits, deaths could be even higher. This confidential document is Turner's 1976 written evidence to the asbestos inquiry. At the last minute, they removed these 4 pages, in which they admitted they'd breached the law many times by having dust levels as high as 26 fibres. That's 13 times the legal limit. This is Fortex, a safe wet process that Turners say is remarkably dust-free. But in 1982, the dust levels in Turner's Fortex department have breached the legal limit significantly. Even worse, experiments at Edinburgh University injecting Fortex dust into rats to show that this supposedly safe process can give cancer. A Turner's internal minute reports that in the rats, Fortex dust gave a high rate of mesotheliomas. So even in modern conditions, working at Turner's could be dangerous. Donald Robinson has worked in several departments, but mainly in Fortex. He thought that in modern times, working at Turner's was quite safe. Last year, Donald, who is married with 4 children, was told he had the asbestos cancer mesothelioma. Donald Robinson is aged 39. Turner's also told the asbestos inquiry that in the weaving shed, the factory showpiece, which for 30 years is kept to below the legal limits for asbestos dust, they had no disease whatsoever, that not one single weaver has contracted asbestos-related disease. But what about this man who worked in the weaving shed? Records show he had suspected asbestosis. That was in January 1968, fully 8.5 years before Turner stated they had no disease whatever amongst weavers. He wasn't the only one, as these records from that same year, 1977, show. The number of weavers with suspected asbestosis, not nil, but 13. Among them, Joe Testaferrata Donato. The medical records show he had asbestosis. That was in 1977. But Turner's let him continue work with asbestos and didn't move him out of the danger area.
We've got a document which shows that that Mr. Donato had was a definite case of asbestosis. Did you ever know anything about that?
No, it wasn't. He was never told that.
Well, I mean, this document here says, you know, it's in the doctor...
Look, just a minute. I knew Joe Donato. There's no way that Joe knew anything about this at all. This is disgraceful.
Was he ever moved?
No, certainly not. He worked with me for the last 10 years. We worked back-to-back partners. There's no way that Joe knew that he'd got asbestosis.
A few months after that last checkup, and nearly 6 years after the company doctor first diagnosed lung damage, Joe Donato died of lung cancer. He was 54. Turner's also stated to the asbestos inquiry that they had 48 cases of mesothelioma, but that none of these could be described as cases of slight exposure to asbestos. But Margaret Crimes worked here as Turner's telephonist. Emma Marshall was Turner's office cleaner, but they both died of the asbestos cancer mesothelioma. This is Turner's own list of mesotheliomas. Among the exposure times, 16 months, 1 year, 7 months, 5 months, 3 years, and the last one, a woman exposed for just 10 days. In this 1980 questionnaire, Turner's told one of the unions that the number of mesotheliomas in the previous 4 years was just 3. In the same period, we found 6. Turner's also told the unions, in 1980, the level of asbestosis between 1950 and 1979 was just 20. We found 81. Even 2 years before that questionnaire, Turner's knew of at least 31, as their own list, complete with dates certified by the government panel, shows. We found 50 more cases on death certificates. The total, not 20 cases, but 81. The real figure must be higher, because death certificates often fail to record industrial disease. Margaret Priestley, for example, was a jolly 17-stone woman. Before she died, she shrank to an unrecognizable 8 stone. Officially, she was 70% disabled with asbestosis, but there was no mention of asbestos on the death certificate. Yet this government panel report reveals her death was due to asbestosis. Edward Wellings died in 1981. He had asbestosis for 16 years before he died, yet his death certificate stated he died from heart trouble. The Rochdale coroner even refused to hold an inquest. But this pathologist's report shows that Edward Wellings in fact had asbestos in his lungs. Even worse, he had cancer of the lung. But neither cancer nor asbestos was on the death certificate. As a result, his widow never got the special pension which Turners normally give to asbestos widows.
I don't see why I should suffer for 16 years and then say I ain't got it. And I think, well, I just think Turners are getting away with murder.